Hello and welcome back to Zeroing In on Health, the video blog. My name is Charles Washington and thanks for joining me once again. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has a brand new study. In this study, it says that meat eaters aren't in danger of certain types of brain cancer. I know this had to be a shock to many people, but indeed it's true. So as you can see from the headline, meat eaters aren't at risk for certain types of brain cancers. These researchers were looking specifically at cured meats like hot dogs and sausages and the kind of high-fat meats that people love to have at a fair or festival or just whenever, picnics. They would have loved to tell the public that, see, eating these foods are horrible and they lead to brain cancer. But I'll give these researchers credit because usually when they have a study like this and they don't find what they're looking for, we don't hear anything about it. But at least in this case, MSNBC did pick it up that the results didn't go the way the researchers thought. So as the study says, despite theories to the contrary, adults who eat a lot of meat may not have a heightened risk of the most common type of malignant brain tumor, a new study finds. These theories to the contrary typically develop out of belief. People believe in something so long and so strong, and they've heard these things repeated so many times that it just becomes a part of their belief system. In fact, many times tests are not even conducted in a scientific fashion because people already believe they know the results. So what use is there in testing them? But in this case, we're fortunate that the researchers actually tested a widely held belief, and the evidence was found to be wanting. So these researchers were looking for nitrosamines, which are potentially cancer-promoting things found in certain foods, or they're formed in the body with other chemicals we eat called sodium nitrates or sodium nitrites. We've long heard the evils of sodium nitrates and sodium nitrites. These compounds are used in preserving and flavoring processing cured meats like hot dogs, bacon, sausage, and ham, which make these foods major sources of dietary nitrosamines. So again, if these researchers can prove that these sodium nitrates and nitrites lead to nitrosamines which lead to brain cancer, then indeed they would be onto something huge. They'd make the front page. Could you imagine if you went to this, you woke up and you looked at the news and you saw that now hot dogs and hamburgers and ham, I mean, I live in the South. Honey baked ham is what it's all about. And now if you were told that all these processed meats are no longer good for you because a study has shown conclusively that that's true, oh man, it'd be something. So just how did our researchers come up with this particular data? It says that they used data from 3 large ongoing health studies of U.S. doctors and nurses whose diets and lifestyle habits have been periodically surveyed up to 30 years. They found that among the nearly 238,000 men and women in the studies, only 335 were diagnosed with these gliomas at some point. No links between the risk of developing the disease and participants' intake of meat, processed meat, nitrates, nitrites, or nitrosamines. And they also didn't check for sugar. The only thing they were looking at was the meat part. But what if there was some other aspect of diet that might have caused these things? Because the fact of the matter is, cancer is a disease of civilization. As much as these researchers would love to link meat eating with cancer, the fact is that no meat eating population, whether you're talking about the Native American of the Great Plain, whether you're talking about the Inuit, whether you're talking about the Maasai, I mean, there just are no exclusive meat-eating populations that had any cancer there. So to try to blame this particular thing on meat or trying to find some link to meat is a pretty futile sort of thing. Now, if you want to say that because they cure the meats or because of these nitrates and nitrites, that perhaps maybe some environmental factor caused by ingesting these things, then maybe. But this particular study, which followed people over 30 years, failed to develop any evidence for such a theory. So wait, it gets better. These researchers also found that there's no elevated risk among meat lovers who also had low intakes of antioxidants like vitamin C and E, which slow down the formation of nitrosamines in the stomach. That means that when you're at the ballpark and you got the hot dog, somebody also would suggest that maybe you'd have a piece of fruit with that hot dog so that you could slow the formation of nitrosamines. But despite not opting for the fruit, over 30 years, they were unable to find any link between people who did not eat much fruit and those who ate this processed meat. At the end of the day, even the researchers had to admit that at least in adulthood, meat eating does not increase the risk of cancer's glioma. However, you know, if you make it to the end of the article, you can see for yourself where it says But despite that, meat eating should still be limited because studies have linked meat eating to all these diseases like heart disease and all these different things. There's no study that proves meat eating does anything. There's no study that proves high fat causes cancer or that it clogs your arteries or that it causes heart disease, especially in the absence of sugar. You take the sugar out of the equation, you'll find that your body handles fat just fine. I can assure you, I eat a high fat diet and I've done so for over 2 years. I have no clogged arteries. I have no risk of heart disease. I'm not worried about any of that sort of thing. So do yourself a favor. Find the real culprit for these diseases and stay away from the faddish claims from these researchers who are trying their best to find a link between some sort of disease and meat eating. It's just not there. There is a link that says if you eat meat and you avoid the carbohydrates, you can be like all the native populations before us who had outstanding health. Once again, this is Charles Washington with Zeroing In on Health, and thank you for joining me for my latest video blog. See you next week.